Welcome to the Visionary Chronicles, a business strategy podcast where we provide insight to those looking for creative, executable strategies built around the latest disruptive ideas, innovative cultures, product creators, and marketing solutions. Today on the Visionary Chronicles, we're going to talk about fearlessness, a fearless living. What I say, how to live life fearlessly and succeed. And I thought it was a great topic based on where we're at today. Over the past year, we've talked about it again and again, about those not wanting to take risk versus those embracing risk and not worrying about failure and succeeding. And so I understand the fact that in working with many companies and brands, leaders don't want to take a risk. And obviously, there is no fear in not taking risks. So as a result, it's something that's very uncomfortable for leaders and companies wanting to proactively embrace fearlessness. But I thought it would be a great subject for us to talk about how to be fearless, how to make this a part of your routine as a leader with a company. And so the first thing I looked at was, fear. Without fear, what is fearlessness exactly? And really what it comes down to, interestingly enough, is very simple term on fearlessness in the dictionary, which is without fear. You're bold, you're brave. But when I dig deeper on that definition, I was really curious on the side of bold. What is bold as far as a definition? When we say not hesitating in the face of danger, not hesitating to break the rules beyond conventional thinking. So I thought that was really a great expansion upon what fearlessness entails. And the other side of that being brave, exhibiting courage, being a warrior in the face of danger. And so fearlessness really is that. It's really what we talk about many, many times. We talk about risk. Risk. Very few leaders want to take risk, but nothing great has ever happened in our culture without taking a risk, whether it be the vaccine for COVID, or whether it be new products that we have every day. Each one of these things that we use on a daily basis that are generational in nature are all done and completed and executed through those that took risk, those leaders, those fearless leaders that took risk and wanted to have relentless innovation, those that wanted to change the way we do things on a day-to-day basis. And so when you look at fear, it's really something you have to embrace. So when I look at fearlessness, what is it? So in kind of encompassing what all of the characteristics are of being fearless, I looked at this and said it's a courageous warrior, someone who does not hesitate when facing danger. They break barriers and think beyond conventional thoughts. That's really the summary of what fearlessness is as a leader. So when you look at that and you exhibit that authentically and consistently, those others inside of the company will follow you. So there's a couple other things I looked at that are very logical when you talk about fear. You talk about risk. And one was from actually Buddha, of all people, he said, even death is not to be feared by one who has lived wisely. So as you go through life, you're going to have situations where you're going to have to face your fears. And so preparedness is obviously a big component of that, embracing fear, embracing risk, and knowing that you are going to fail. So when we look at fearlessness, that courageous thought process in the face of danger and breaking through barriers, what are the other things that we look at when we talk about fearlessness? And fearlessness is both professional and personal. Why I love it, because they both stretch our comfort level in many different ways. As an example, skydiving versus a new product or a new channel that you're looking to bring your company or business into. They're both very risky. And both of those, you have to be courageous and fearless when you look at staring in the face of danger. So when we look at fearless living, I really came up with, there's many different areas to prepare on how to live fearlessly, but There's only so much you can do to prepare. Effectively, it's a mindset, and it's one that you want to do and you want to achieve. And so when I looked at this, I said, how do these leaders or executives or in your personal, professional life, how do you live fearlessly? So I really found kind of consolidated down to 8 steps. Again, we could have 100 steps on this, but the ones that I felt were most relevant to what we're discussing would be these. The first area in being fearless is understand your situation and be aware. And awareness of the situation and understanding the outcomes are key to being fearless. And I know that we don't always know the outcome, but understanding the awareness of the situation also brings logic to it. And I'll use an example of things that are crazy and things that are fearless. When you look at skydiving, that's fearless because you've got a control mechanism, and or maybe it's a buddy jump or something that you've kind of controlled the situation. Another on the business side would be a new product, something that's practical but stretches the imagination and something that hasn't been done before. Maybe it's an adaptable product. Now, crazy things are jumping off a cliff with no parachute. Obviously, that's reckless and defies logic. So you really have to understand and be aware of the situation. It certainly takes you out of your comfort zone, but nonetheless very fearless. So when you're looking at these situations, make sure you understand and you're aware of the situation so you put logic to it as well. Understanding the situation and its potential outcomes. Number 2 is emulate others who have been fearless. Life and business. Follow these leaders. Who has impacted your life, whether personally or professionally, that stepped out on a limb and made a difference for the betterment of whether it be society, business, product, service, whatever it happens to be. There are those that have done that, who have achieved what you're trying to do, maybe in another product category or venture in your life. So emulating others is key to fearlessness as well. Follow others that have cut the path for you to follow. And also number 3 is be willing to take risks and fail. Risk taking is one thing, but understanding that you may fail is another. And I'll say failure is to be embraced by companies as well as yourself personally. If you set a goal to climb a mountain, whatever it may be, whatever size it may be, if you fail to get to the summit, you've at least tried. Others have not tried, so as a result, it's a fearless endeavor for you to want to conquer that mountain. The fact that you may not have hit the summit is not the point. The point is that you made a fearless venture to want to conquer a mountain, while others sat on the sideline watching you train day after day to eventually attack that mountain. And again, I say nothing great has ever been achieved without taking a risk. So the fact that you are taking one is risk in itself. So be willing to take risk and be willing to fail and embrace if you do fail on your venture to take that risk. So make sure, number 3, you're willing to take risk and fail and embrace that. And number 4, kind of a parallel to that, is embracing fear. Learn how to overcome and achieve it. Others will follow as a result of you cutting that path for them to follow. And it kind of goes back to conquering the mountain. And step by step, you're going to achieve what your vision has set out for you to do. So it will be involved with a lot of embracing fear, embracing failure, but you have to be willing to take that risk. So number 4 is embracing that risk, learning how to overcome and achieve. And I say step by step. And that means if you didn't hit the summit the first time, set a plan for how you're going to achieve it the next time. But the key is to those that embrace life and embrace fearlessness is they don't stop. So it could be the third time you get up there. And again, I go back to Thomas Edison, 9,999 attempts at the light bulb, 10,000, he hit it. But his passion was around fearlessness of wanting to find a solution to what his vision had set for him. So, and instead of getting frustrated at the failures, he embraced it as finding another way to try and invent the light bulb. So he said he found 999,000 ways that you can't make the light bulb. So really embrace fear, learn how to overcome and achieve, meaning that each time you do it, adapt and change, and eventually, step by step, you'll hit your summit. And number 5 is don't be reckless. I go back to the point of it's great to be fearless, but be prepared and understand and be aware. So being reckless, again, for lack of a better analogy, is jumping out of a plane without a parachute. That's just stupid and it's reckless. So you want to make sure you're not reckless. You understand the difference. It's logic. So make sure that you are not reckless in your fearlessness. Understand the situation and the outcomes of you taking this risk. Number 6 is visualize. This kind of goes towards meditation, visualizing, conquering that mountain, conquering that new product, that new service, that new technology that you're trying to implement, reinventing a product category, making sure that you have the ability to visualize. I've been very fortunate on the product and marketing side that having the ability to visualize has helped me significantly overcome any fears and to be fearless in whatever I do. So I want to make sure that those that have the ability to visualize and or those that don't, to practice visualization. Again, on commercializing a new product, reinventing a category, for me, it's been invaluable as I've worked with companies, brands, and moving forward. So I say in visualization is you have a dream, just follow it, but have a vision and a plan to succeed. And I say that because when you're developing a new product, you're going after a new channel of distribution, you're going after and trying to attack a strategy. Guess who has to set the path for the future? It's you. Others will follow, but they need to know what the vision is built off of your dream and how to be able to cut that path that others will follow. So visualizing is very important in order for you to succeed when you're living a fearless life. So follow your dreams, but have a vision, a plan to succeed, and tell others about your vision, not just your team, other executives, whatever it may be, whoever or whatever you're doing, they'll hold you accountable. So make sure, number 6, that you're visualizing. Number 7 is flush out a worst case scenario. And this kind of follows, and I put it specifically behind visualization because this is something that I do personally as well, is that I visualize success. And what limits my fear factor is I flush out a worst case scenario. You know, what is the worst thing that could potentially happen as a result of creating this new product, as a result of going after something that's never been done before, whether a new product for your company or personally, potentially something where you get bucked off and you have to get back on again. So just make sure that you understand when you visualize success, but also visualize what is the worst case scenario that could happen. So you have that backup plan in your head. On the engineering side, we call that a fail-safe. So if something breaks down, we know that we've got a backup plan. So really it becomes kind of a flush out worst case scenario and a backup plan in case things don't work out the way you anticipated them. And number 8 follows visualization, flushing out a worst case scenario. They're both visualization strategies on living a fearless life. Number 8 is really the follow-up to that, is meditation. Meditation on success, not failure. You want to flush out that worst case scenario, then let it go. The problem that I see with a lot of leaders these days, and the ones that I work with Liquid Mind, is they get hung up on number 7. They flush out this worst case scenario, then it sticks in their head and they can't let it go. So you want to make sure that you're meditating, and I specifically say on success. Visualize success. I always say have a positive attitude. And we say measure twice, cut once. So you want to make sure that you're meditating on this success of these fearless strategies that you want to put in play with your company or you personally. So again, fearless life is really something that to a certain degree is planned out, and it's a meditation, and it's also something that you have to overcome. And some people jump off the cliff with a parachute, others jump off a hill and prepare for eventually jumping off the cliff with a parachute. So I find either way is a successful strategy on living a fearless life. Take steps forward, live within your comfort level, use logic, don't be reckless, and being able to live a fearless life, and one that others can emulate, but they can emulate it as a result of you taking that step by step towards success. So when we look at this again on living a fearless life, and I'll use the quotes I had mentioned previously, and one that I didn't mention, which I think is very appropriate for living a fearless life, is kind of the acronym of the FEAR. And what I thought was pretty cool about this one is false evidence appearing real, which really is kind of the summation of what fear is. It's a lot of times in your head. And that's why I say when I work with a lot of executives, many of them, whether personal or professional, they can't get off a worst case scenario. Prepare for that worst case scenario, but also embrace risk, embrace fearlessness. And it can be professional and personal, and why I thought it was such a great subject for us to talk about today as well. So when you look at this 8 areas of living fearlessly, again, number 1, understand and be aware of the situation. Number 2, emulate others who are fearless, those who have impacted your life. Number 3, again, is be willing to take risk and fail. Embrace failure. Nothing great has ever been achieved without risk. And number 4 is embrace fear. Learn how to overcome and achieve this fear. Others will follow, but take it step by step. Number 5 is don't be reckless with your life. Make sure you understand the difference. It's logical. Don't jump off a cliff without a parachute. It may seem something that most wouldn't do, but I use it as an analogy of understanding the difference between recklessness and fearlessness. Is understanding the difference and understanding and be aware of the consequences in the worst case scenario. Number 6 is visualizing your dream. Have a plan to succeed and tell others about that. They'll hold you accountable. Number 7, on top of visualization, is flushing out the worst case scenario. Having a fail-safe backup plan. And then move off number 7. Stick to number 6. And then move on to number 8. Meditate on your success. Have a positive mental attitude. And ensure that what your thoughts are on successfully overcoming your fear in living life fearlessly. Would like to thank you for listening to the Visionary Chronicles today. I really appreciate your time, and hopefully you've enjoyed the subjects that we talk about each week here on the Visionary Chronicles, and we feel it's very important. We understand that there's professional needs and support you need with your companies and with your brands, but we also appreciate the fact that you've got some personal needs. As leaders of companies and brands, there are many things that you have to deal with, and we want to make sure that we're addressing those as well. If you like what you hear, we would really appreciate subscribing to the Visionary Chronicles. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, and Podbean. So we would really appreciate if you'd subscribe and look forward to bringing additional episodes to you each week. So again, thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Look forward to the next podcast.